Okay, let's shift our conversation now and talk about something else. Still talking about the community and working in the society and working in helping people and what is done. This time, we want to talk about empowering persons with disabilities in Kenya. And we are joined by Saum Siraj. She's a Rotary Club of Hurlingham, from the Rotary Club of Hurlingham, District 9212 Rotary Sunshine Rally Chair. Good morning, Saum.
Good morning, and thank you for having me here.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation, the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Really feels hot.
Does it?
Yeah.
I see.
All right, then we can promise you one thing. It can only get hotter.
Oh, wow. Especially having just met my sister Tekla, Ambassador Tekla. I know what she does, and yeah, I don't know if some of us can actually fill her shoes in terms of working with society.
That's very true.
Yeah.
You're a Rotarian.
Yes.
What is it that Rotarians do?
Rotarians, we are just volunteers across the world. So it's an international group of volunteers. All of us have our day jobs, but we come in just to make a difference in society. An organization that started over 17 years ago. So we are here now. Everyone wants to be part of something bigger than themselves in society. And if that's your calling, if that's what you feel you want to do, beyond your day job, beyond earning your millions, then Rotary is a place to be. Yeah.
So why volunteer?
We all have various reasons for volunteering. I know I started volunteering because I kept feeling I needed to belong to a group that is much more than partying, because I joined when I was in my mid-30s, much more than just chamas, where, of course, you discuss projects. I kept feeling this gap of something. I need to do something that has more purpose in life. Other people join for the networks, of being around like-minded people. There are others who just join because you know what it feels to lack a few things in life. And now you want to fill that gap if you have made it in life, so you want to give back. So we all have different reasons, but the end game is just to bring change in society.
And how is the Rotary Club organized? So there's a Club of Hurlingham, there are very many other clubs, Club of Kilimani, Club of Kitengela, Club of this and the other. How are they organized?
So Rotary, being an international organization, our structures start from the headquarters, which is in Chicago, Illinois. That's where it started. So we have what you call a Rotary president. This year, our Rotary president is Jennifer Jones, a lady, and she runs all the clubs worldwide. Below her, there is a board of trustees who now take care of a lot of issues administratively at international level. Then now we come down this way, we cascade it to our countries and our locations. So Rotary is divided into districts. A district can be just one country or many countries, depending on the numbers, or a state where you have big countries like India, Nigeria, etc. So in Kenya, we call ourselves Rotary District 9212. It comprises of Kenya, Ethiopia, South Sudan, and Eritrea. In a district, it's run by what you call a district governor. Beautiful lady, we call her Pendo. She's from Ethiopia. Nickname is Pendo, but her real name is Azeb Asrat. She's the one who's the current district governor. Below her, of course, there are district officials who run different programs within Rotary. But then now we have clubs. Clubs are run by presidents and a board where there's a treasurer, a secretary, and other positions that are usually there, somebody in charge of membership, somebody in charge of projects, and etc. Remember, all of us who are doing this are volunteers. We take time out of our daily routine just to get this organization running properly. So that's how it is. So we have very many clubs. In Nairobi, we have over 30 clubs. Across the country, we have over 120 clubs. So you're spoiled for choice. Worldwide, when you travel, you're welcome to visit any Rotary club, whether you're a Rotarian or not. We have an app called the Club Locator. You just check what's happening in this city. Is there a Rotary club nearby? There's a contact you can call, find out where they are meeting, what time, and visit. Very open door. Yep.
All that just to introduce us to the Rotary movement. Now, to welcome you to the show, let's hear the day's proverb from CT.
Yes.
He is reading He's referring to a book that's as old as him. It's actually 3 months younger than him.
Oh, wow.
This particular book.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Do you know, Achebes, things fall apart.
Oh, yeah.
Goodness gracious me. Sometimes I look at these proverbs, and I'm spoiled for choice. I start with one and I say, I should have started with this other one here. Anyway, let the kite perch. Let the eagle perch too. If one says no to the other, let his wings break.
Let the kite perch. Let the eagle perch too. If one says no to the other, let his wings break.
Yes.
So what do you get from this proverb?
For me, it brings in an aspect of equality. Yeah. Because if there's no equality, then everything disintegrates. In this case, society. Yeah. That's how I look at it. I translate it.
So the Rotary Club of Hurlingham, to which you belong,
Yes.
has been doing some work to support persons living with disabilities. Just take us through some of the latest things that you've been doing.
So beyond my club, I serve at the district level. That's what you call the Rotary Sunshine Rally. Of course, we do projects, different kinds of projects. Just to briefly say that we do projects in 7 focus areas: environment, maternal, child and healthcare, basic education and literacy, economic empowerment, disease prevention, and then peace and conflict, which Ambassador Tekla is big on that. We look to partner with her. But on matters dealing with persons with disability, we've been doing it for many, many years. We have a very, very special project called the Rotary Sunshine Rally. It started in the year 1979, courtesy of Dr. Manu Chandaria, who is a member of Rotary Club of Nairobi, the oldest club. It's about 92 years now. So he started this event just to commemorate his brother who had a hearing impairment and he had passed on. His brother was special to him because he's the one who introduced him to Rotary. So he said, I need to do something to remember my brother. So he brought in these kids who had different disabilities at Jamhuri Showgrounds there in Nairobi, 1979. He says he brought in about 300 kids, fed them, entertained them, and gave them gifts. So the following year, 1980, UN declared it the Year of the Handicapped. The same year, Rotary International was turning 75 years. And his club thought, why not let us run with this project of Dr. Manu Chandaria. Being a member of a club, let us support him. And from there, other clubs within Nairobi, Mount Kenya, and the nearby regions joined in. So it now became a Rotary District 9212 event. So every year that used to happen. It was ongoing. For me, I joined about 10 years ago as a volunteer because I've been a Rotarian for the last 11 years. So a volunteer means for this specific project, volunteering to be a member of a committee to organize this event for the kids with disabilities, more so just to create awareness on persons with disability and also to support them. When we interact with them, the caregivers, the school teachers, the parents, we find out what are the challenges they are facing and we try and figure out how can we as Rotarians close that gap. We've had lots of projects with many of the schools that we interact with, from building for them disability-friendly wash facilities to equipping them with mobility aids and other assistive devices, giving them learning aids because we know a lot of the special needs schools in the country are struggling when it comes to the teaching materials, and just encouraging the caregivers, mentorship for the caregivers and teachers because we know their work is not easy. So that's what we've been doing over the last more than 41 years. We didn't have this event in 2020 because we were to have it on the 13th of March. 12th of March, it was declared COVID-19 is a pandemic. And we had organized this big event. We were going to host about 6,000 kids with disabilities at Jamhuri Ground. So we cancelled, and I can tell you the kids were not happy. Their caregivers, their teachers were calling us, and we told them, we'll let you know. So we went on a hiatus for 3 years until now. This year, 2023, came back. So that's why we are calling it the 41st Sunshine Rally. So we've had this event because of numbers. We've started thinking of devolving it and taking it to other areas within the country. So our first event to represent the Western region was done in Kisii, at Kisii University on the 25th of March. We had about 500 kids with different disabilities and a lot of people on site. We had Honorable Anthony Kibagendi as our guest, and it was a pleasure hosting him and him interacting with us and just recognizing some of these challenges that they're having. And as a member of parliament, a legislator, he promised to push for some of the things to be changed. And the one thing he committed is to build washroom facilities for one of the schools that I had attended, and it was well known that they actually do not have proper washroom facilities, leave alone even for persons with disability. So for me, that was a win already. Then come to Nairobi. Nairobi, we hosted over 6,000 children just 2 weeks ago, 4th of March, at Jamhuri Showground. That event is usually overwhelming. We start planning like 5 months in advance because we have to plan transport and logistics for the kids, picking them up from their various schools and bringing them to Jamhuri Showgrounds. We have to figure out where are we getting their food. We are lucky I think from the time I joined over 10 years, we've always had the same sponsor who says, I will provide lunch for the kids, the Jalaram Group, and we are very thankful for that. They have never failed us. When we tell them we have 2,000 kids, we get lunch for 2,000 kids. This time we told them we expect 6,500 kids, and that's what they gave, and much more. Imagine, for all those years, they never fail us. Then, of course, planning for the gifts that they will get, what kind of entertainment we'll have. We had a whole range of entertainers who came through for the kids, and you must see how amazing those kids looked, how happy, and the smiles on their faces were. It's one of those things I look forward to every year since I joined Rotary. That's what keeps me being a better human being, a volunteer in my life, and most importantly, knowing that the children are happy. We've created that awareness about persons with disabilities because you always have people coming and looking. There are people who come and experience with their families. We have Rotarians who've never experienced it. They interact with these kids. And by the time they walk out of there, they tell me, thank you for inviting me here, or thank you for organizing this. I now look at life differently. It is very hard for you to understand what a person with disability goes through until you spend a day with them. Leave alone bumping into them on the hospital corridors. That is nothing. Spend a day with them. Sit with those kids, the ones who can actually move. Hold their hand and move with them. Somebody who's visually impaired, how do you help them? You know, a child who has cerebral palsy, some of them we have to carry them just to take them closer to where the entertainment is so that they can also enjoy it. If you see how those kids who are visually impaired dancing to the beat of the music, you would be amazed. You'd think you're in this mega Zumba class, listening to the MC, following the footsteps. When they're told, lift your hands up, etc. And the kids over the years, some of them, they know me because I've been there for long, and they run to me, and the hug is very genuine.
You can feel it.
Genuine, yeah.
When you talk about dealing with all these children who are living with disability, how do you identify the disability? How do you categorize disability?
We have a standard category for disabilities, which is given by the National Council for Persons with Disability here locally. But we have a few broad areas. We have those with visual impairment, people who are completely blind or partially blind. Then we have those with physical challenges, the ones who use probably walking aids, wheelchairs, etc. We have those with hearing impairment. I'm talking about those who are deaf, slightly or completely. Slightly are the ones who use hearing aids. Then we have some with what you call neurodiversity issues. So it's a combination. Like they may have, I know you've heard a lot about autism, cerebral palsy. Those are the common words that are usually thrown around nowadays. But there's much more. There are some who have multiple impairments, and those are put in one special category. And then, of course, they've added a category dealing with people with mental health challenges.
Mm-hmm.
They are still categorized as persons with disability when it comes to, of course, registering them with a persons with disability card. Yeah.
So, I mean, looking at then, so it's obvious that, the work that's being done is from, a volunteer perspective. So everything that goes towards supporting them is obviously something you give of your time, you give of your resources, and part of this, club, essentially, that comes together to be able to do this.
Yeah.
Do you find that more and more people are ready to do that, living beyond themselves?
Experience over the years, every time you call people to come and help, they come. Big numbers. Like I can tell you on 4th at Jamhuri, I had over 1,000 volunteers on site. Because imagine feeding over those 6,000 kids. Not easy. So people give themselves freely, easily, and wholeheartedly. Yeah. And I am happy because we've created that awareness. We've seen milestones in terms of even for the children, for them being around other children with disabilities, it helps them feel part of the community. Because we know in the African culture, persons with disabilities are categorized as a curse. And we are trying to let people know that, no, they are not a curse. They just have a disability, and there's a way you can deal with it. We have schools for them. They need to go for rehabilitation. There are healthcare programs for them. There's also medication now, the ones like have autism, dyslexia, and things like that, and many other things that can be done. So they are not being hidden, but they come out and get the kind of help they require. Beyond that, we have a lot of people who've come in to offer now support, bigger support. We have groups that have come in and said, we can give you assistive devices for the kids, be it the wheelchair, be it white cane, be it the walking aid, whether it's sponsoring them to get the hearing aids for those who are partially deaf and things like that. And most importantly, we finally got into a partnership with the National Council for Persons with Disability. This is an arm in the government that caters for persons with disability that was created through the Disability Act of 2003. So our partnership with them is just to add a voice to some of the things that they are trying to push for, and work collaboratively in improving the lives of persons with disability. Yeah.
When one looks at the work that Rotary does, one gets the impression that what you do is you complement agencies, institutions that actually work with individuals in the country who are living with disabilities. Now, how do you ensure that you do not duplicate what it is that some of these agencies are already doing?
We usually do what you call a needs assessment. Needs assessment is reaching out to the school, figuring out the stuff that they require. Beyond that, we check if they're getting support from anywhere. And for things that they've asked you to do, you don't just send money or send donations. Go on site and see. Do they really need like the teaching aids? Most of them ask for teaching aids. They say like the blind, they want the braille paper, etc. Do they really need it in class or not? Or are they just pulling our leg? Because you know what happens sometimes when you're donating things. We also check with the National Council of Persons with Disability. They have this big database of people who need assistive devices, whether they have been given or not. And when we do that, we usually take in details of the beneficiary, send it to them so that they don't get double donations or triple donations. So there are those background checks. A bit too administrative, but we need to do it just so that efforts are not duplicated, number one. Secondly, we reach out to as many as people because we've had cases of somebody being given a wheelchair 7 times.
One person?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then what do they do with it? What happens?
They're probably selling them or hoarding. I don't know. By the time we figured it out, but that was very many years ago, is when we realized we need to be checking fast. Because somebody will come, individual cases, you don't give it so much thought. It's just one wheelchair. Okay, let me call this organization that we work with. I give them, there's usually a medical assessment report that a beneficiary submits. Then you're given the wheelchair. But now when you go back to the database, you realize they've already been given 6 other wheelchairs within the same year.
Wow.
So information, you have to have information out there, put it in an organized manner so that anyone can come back, check, access, and see, okay, they need help. And for us, Rotary, we collect information in terms of our projects, what we are doing, etc., so that we are really not duplicating. And if we've put up a sanitary, say, a wash facility in a place, we will put our signage there. This was donated by Rotary, so that if somebody else comes, they can see that and they can actually call and find out which club, the club that has been indicated, and figure out how did this project go.
When you talk about helping people live with disabilities, yes, braille paper, all that, those are now recurrent expenditure. Now, so when you start this journey, how do you ensure that you continue with the assistance? Because it doesn't end with you giving once.
Yeah.
It's something they're going to continue needing.
Yeah.
For the duration probably of their lives, or until they leave the school. And others, if it's a school that is specific to special needs, they'll constantly need it. So walk us through the sort of partnerships you have, because Rotary don't produce braille paper.
No,
neither do you have the equipment. The partnerships you have with people who can help in assisting with the needs that people have in this area. What do you do to ensure consistency over a period of time?
Just like most of the donations, we try to ensure there's sustainability, One-offs, sometimes they can demoralize even you, the person who's giving, because it's for 3 months and then it's done. So even before you run to do it, I think for Rotarians, we're usually advised, what is the sustainability aspect of this? If you're going to do this, how long can you do it? Will you be able to run with it? So, for instance, I'll talk about mobility devices, that is a common donation that we usually do. We've partnered with organizations who either make mobility devices or manufacture them, or have a way of, they have them in plenty. So that at any one time there's a need, I just submit that form, the medical assessment form, and get the mobility devices. Because I can't keep going back to my club and asking for this 10,000 shillings to buy a wheelchair every other day. So those are the kind of partnerships we go for. So look at things like hearing aids, the ones that those with partial hearing problems have. So you partner with an organization that also offers that as a solution, whether it's a healthcare facility or a manufacturer, so that you can always go back and they will give. For us within Rotary, we go for long-term projects that we're able to run ourselves. We have a grant, and we have grants from the Rotary Foundation. So what happens is you'll apply for the grant. The grant really specifies on sustainability, and you'll not get the grant unless you show proof of sustainability. So we go for things like building the washroom facilities that are disability friendly. We go for things like providing long-term teaching materials, materials that when you donate to a school, they'll remain in the school for the teachers to continue using with the next class and the next class.
Let's take a break. It's 28 minutes to 10. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Saum Suraj is the chair of the Rotary Sunshine Rally, which is an initiative by the Rotary District 9212. She's also a member of the Rotary Club of Hurlingham. She's talking to us about the work that they do to empower persons with disabilities in Kenya.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Saum Suraj from the Rotary Club of Hurlingham and District 9212, chair of the Rotary Sunshine Rally. You told us Rotarians are volunteers. You all have day jobs. There's something else that you're doing. You're not employed by the Rotary Club. No, you're not.
Yeah.
So like now, so what do you do?
On a normal day, I run a small business. There's clearing and forwarding and transport. Then diversified into supply of medical equipment and consumables and a bit of branding. So that's what keeps me busy.
So
apart from
everybody
Rotary.
who joins the Rotary Club has something else that they're doing. And of course, because of the diversity of the various clubs, you'll find that there are very many people with various positions, particularly positions of influence, right?
Yes.
In government, or people who, when they walk to government, the door opens itself and they just walk in and the seat comes and they sit.
And the tea comes.
And the tea comes, right? Plus ile mandasi ya CS, it comes. Now I'm looking at the work that you do, that Rotary does, right?
Yeah.
Which is a lot of the donating of time, donating of resources, like right there at the last mile. But a lot of the stuff that you do also goes back into social protection. Say, take for example the case of looking at children or persons living with disability. This is social protection.
Yeah.
This is government job, social protection.
Yeah.
There's government policy, social protection. There's a ministry, there's a state department, their budget, social protection. And then look at the work that you're talking about. For example, donating, if it's, mobility items, if it's hearing aids, all these things, it's social protection. Now, the people who have influence in Rotary, who also have influence in government, do they donate their time, their understanding, their influence to influence extra budgetary allocation, to influence better government vision of these persons with disability?
Yes. Actually, I realized over the few years that I've volunteered is within Rotary, apart from the networks and whatever it is we do, we have a voice. And that's the voice you are using, especially when it comes on matters with disability. To push for some of the things to be changed, some of the things to be improved, whatever it is, even leave alone issues of disability. We are big on menstrual hygiene. So we push. We even work with some of the UN agencies just to talk to the government organizations that are supposed to deal with this and tell them this need is there. We've done our research. We've collected, and this is the data. Let us work together. Let us improve. Let us increase budgets when it comes to A, B, C, and D. And you know how it is, slow progress, but making headway, I must say.
Is there something that you can say in the last 11 years, you said,
Yeah.
since you joined the Rotary,
Yeah.
that you have seen the Rotary District 9212 has actually been able to influence change in policy, change in programmatic approach, change in budgetary allocation for any of the areas?
I can't really specify budgetary allocation because some of this information is really confidential. Sometimes even those allocations are changed, but they will not be directly attributed to us. I can say here and now that even that fight against polio worldwide is largely funded by Rotary. The polio vaccines that are brought and delivered for free is largely funded by Rotary. In fact, that was our flagship program for so many years, and it's almost being eradicated. So I'm proud of being a Rotarian. I'm proud of being part of this journey for eradicating polio in the world. But it's rarely that anyone recognizes the fact that children are being vaccinated for free because of Rotary.
Yeah, but why not more direct and open advocacy? I mean, we know every time when the Rotary is doing something, when you're donating, you'll create publicity around it. When, for example, there is the Sunshine Rally for this year, there was publicity around it, right? People will get to know that this is happening.
Yeah.
Now, if you're involved in advocacy, why don't we hear about it?
I think the culture for Rotary, because it was started, the people who started Rotary were largely retirees or older people. For the longest time, you could not even be a member of Rotary unless you're above 30 years. So they were a bit laid back. Largely, again, you know how some people just like to be silent sponsors.
Participants, yeah.
so a lot of people, even within Rotary as we speak today, who give the most. They will tell me, Saum, I'm giving this, but I don't want to make a fuss about it.
Yeah.
And that's the culture we adopted, quietly giving etc. It's just in the few, let's say 7-8 years is when we've been trying to be loud about what we are doing. Why? Because we feel the only way we can achieve more in terms of getting more people to join hands with us is by talking about it. And I guess that's why I'm here today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm talking about, by the way, and I am not in any way trying to discount the work that Rotary does and has done.
Yes.
All right?
Yes.
But I'm just comparing. So is Rotary just an organization that gives alms so that you feel good about it and, I gave back to the needy, I gave back to society, whereas you have the same position and same influential position. Some of your Rotary members are actually sitting in decision-making tables in government
Yeah.
when they could do much better by ensuring that there is more sustainable support
Yeah.
that goes to the vulnerable groups
Yeah.
rather than every day, just giving in time and spending a day with children and spending day with the vulnerable in the society.
Yeah.
How about more long-term and policy-driven advocacy?
We have members who've joined arms in the organization that are policy. They are there to drive policy change. But when they sit there, of course, they will not openly say, I'm here because I'm a Rotarian. They'll say, I'm here because I'm here, I want to drive change. And I've seen it firsthand. They push for some of the policies, and those policies are changed. I'll talk about Honorable Isaac Maura, a beneficiary of the Rotary Sunshine Rally when he was a student at Thika School for the Blind. And because of being supported by Rotary and all that, it made him become a leader and an advocate for persons with disability. And eventually, when he joined Rotary Club of Ruiru, and his wife Nelly is also a member of Rotary Club of Gigiri. And through him, he was able to push for albinos to get sunscreen lotion for every 2 months. You get a tab. So those are the kind of things Rotarians do, silently, quietly, but now you get in and do it. We have Rotarians who are now board members of the National Council of Disability. Zena, who recently just lost her sight, she now sits in the board and offers free legal services to persons living with disabilities. And beyond that, advising the council on legal matters and as well pushing for the Disability Act 2022 to be passed through in Parliament. We have Sylvia Muramo Chabo, who is also very big on advocacy for autism. She runs her own organization, but she's also an active Rotarian. She sits in the National Council for Persons with Disability. She's been very vocal about issues for people dealing with disability, and we have seen what some of the advocacy she has done, the kind of changes that have come. Small but sure steps. So they're there. We are there. Yeah.
There's something about people living with disabilities and the enormous attention that needs to be paid to their needs. Now, let's start with the basics. Is there a database, a national database?
Yes.
How often is this database updated? And how readily accessible is this database?
So the national database, first and foremost, one has to be registered. You know the way you go and register for an ID? That's where the challenge is. That process of getting a disability card, you apply for it through National Council of Persons with Disability. You provide them with your medical report from wherever, or they'll send you to a health center and then fill the form, and then eventually you get the card.
That is for adults or
everybody?
For
Everybody.
children?
With disabilities.
Yeah,
Anybody?
even
Okay.
for children. In fact, we were doing registrations on site for all the Sunshine Rally events we've had over the last 1 month. Yeah. So there is that. That is where the data is. And as far as I'm concerned, we have about 2% persons living with disability of the Kenya's population of persons living with disability. But those are the ones who are registered. We don't know about the ones who have not registered, the ones who are hidden.
Now you've gotten the heart of the matter.
etc.
You've gotten the heart of the matter.
Yeah.
There are many people who are living with disabilities and don't live in any major town where perhaps Rotary is active.
Yes.
Okay. And yet, these individuals will probably have even greater needs simply because of the places they live in.
Yes.
Now, the government has an agency that deals with this.
Yes.
At the risk of trying to point fingers at the agency, and indeed I actually am pointing a finger at the agency.
You've taken the risk.
I've taken the risk of pointing a finger. Do you know of efforts that are made to ensure that people living with disabilities throughout the country get an opportunity to be in that database? Because when they're in that database, then it is a lot simpler and easier to marshal together whatever assistance that can be given to them.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's been an ongoing campaign for everyone across the country.
You know, I'm going to ask you what this campaign is about, but go on, yes.
It's a campaign for parents, guardians, and teachers to register everybody with a disability. So what happened, I must say, for very many years, as much as they were registering, there was a lot of fraud. Can you imagine? There were people who are being given disability cards, but...
Yeah, we can imagine. Yeah.
Because, a disability card has its benefits.
Yep.
Like?
So one of the benefits is that you from that disability card, those with extreme usually get a cash transfer. Their guardians are given a monthly cash transfer. You can come together as a self-help group of persons with disability in a community and apply for a grant. As long as you have the disability card, then now you guys apply for a grant from National Council and you're given. You can also, if you don't have a wheelchair or whatever it is, if you have a disability card, you can apply through National Council of Persons
But
with
you have to have a
Disability.
disability card.
Yes. It's the only proof that you're a person with disability.
Now, is it? Because you've already just mentioned how it is people have fiddled with that particular process.
Yes.
So, somebody may have a card, but the only disability is the card. Because, but as for the person having disabilities, because the card then represents the individual.
Yeah.
Yes. So, please go on.
So now, of course, apart from the cash transfer, that grant, they have bursaries of up to 75% for your education. There's a tax exemption, like if you're importing a car, there's tax exemption on your income tax and all that.
75%?
No, for the bursaries, they give you 75%. If you're getting a motorized wheelchair, they'll give you up to 100,000 shillings to purchase the motorized
They will
wheelchair.
give you.
They will pay, of course, to the supplier.
Yes,
If the wheelchair
but
costs
they'll
more,
make it possible for you to have it,
yeah.
and the maximum amount is 100,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Something not valued above. Above that, then you cater for the extra expense. And of course, you get free legal advisory services. Persons with disabilities are abused a lot. So you're offered free. But this process had a loophole. And what happened, former President Uhuru Kenyatta now, they launched a new program for registering guys afresh. But now they are using modern technology with security features, etc. It was launched in December 2021. So there's been an ongoing campaign to get people to register afresh. And Rotary, one of the partnerships we have with National Council of Persons with Disabilities, to encourage registration. So when we have our events, like now the Rotary Sunshine Rally or a medical camp where we'll have many people, we ask the team from National Council to come and do registration and also to avail medical officers or doctors there on site to do medical assessment, because not everybody can afford to have an assessment report. Most of them are from very poor. I mean, by the time you're coming for a free medical camp, it means, again, you can barely afford to get a medical health report. So you have the doctors there, like 7-10 doctors. They check, they fill their medical report. Then the next tent, you'll have the team from National Council. They do the registration. And those are the kind of campaigns we are doing. So it's a small step, but we are getting somewhere as long as we are working collaboratively and trying to fill some of the loopholes that are there. I don't think we work in a continent where people have a lot of shortcuts. And it's really difficult, actually, for me, even from where I sit. Sometimes when some of the needy cases that come to us as Rotary, sometimes you listen and you look aside because it smells fishy. Yeah, you really want to help, but it smells
But
fishy.
there's something that is
There's
not
something
adding up.
that is, because we have our own way of doing feasibility studies or checking that is this project viable, whether it's a small project or a mega project. We have our own ways. We have checks we have to fulfill. Then you take it to the board approves, then now you implement the project.
So from all these children that you have encountered living with disability, let's just even talk about the 6,000 that came the other day. Was it the 4th of March?
4th of March in Nairobi.
In Nairobi.
Yeah. And last weekend, Saturday in Kirinyaga.
Are they all in school?
Most are in school. Majority are in school.
Okay.
But some of them are at home. The ones with the cerebral palsy, especially the ones who can barely speak or walk, those are just in homes. Yeah.
The ones in school, would you say that they have adequate facilities? Do we have sufficient number of schools adequately furnished?
No. The schools that we have currently are not sufficient in terms of size. Some of the schools, people have to queue even up to 2 years to get admission.
What?
Yeah,
So
and
you have a
remember it's
2-year
public,
period
yeah,
to get into a public school that are
just not too
admits-
far here. I think a school for the blind.
Yep.
Because it's on demand, but why don't we have similar schools across the country?
Elsewhere.
Somebody has to come from far.
Actually, why don't we? Because if I Google search, I'm told there are around 46 schools in the country for people living with disabilities, but they are not all public schools. So,
The private schools are extremely expensive.
They are expensive.
You're paying a minimum of like 150,000 shillings per term. How many parents can afford that?
There you
150,000 shillings.
The private schools.
Minimum.
Yeah, minimum.
go. Minimum. Now you can imagine all these kind of schools that we have. The need for education. And that's why I come back again into Rotary. With all the good work that you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the challenge here is, can you advocate so that we can get more schools?
Yes,
for
and with all
persons
the
with
influence you
disabilities?
can peddle, because in all honesty, even as we talk about the importance of looking after our citizens who are living with disabilities, the question then has to be asked, is enough effort really being put into this? I mean, a lot of words have been put into it. That one we've understood. But the effort to actually ensure that the equality that these citizens ought to have, and which is their right.
Yep.
Yeah, it is there, right?
You cannot talk about somebody living with visual impairment being on a waiting line for 2 years to get to a school. So what are they doing for those 2 years? These are basic questions, and this is a right, okay? This is a right. This person is a child. They're under 18. They have a right in the Constitution to have access to an education.
Yes.
So what are we saying? Are we saying that the government is then denying them a right just because they have not built an extra school for the blind? I mean...
So what are we saying? Is the government breaking the law?
The government is
what it's
basically
supposed
to
denying
provide them.
people their rights.
Yes.
Resources are overstretched in terms of what can we do, what
This
can we
is
not do.
nonsense.
Me
There's a
as
lot of
Saul-
money that is
for me as
possible. If we
Saul-
can spend 500 million shillings to buy cars for the office of the deputy president,
Surely.
who is around in cars, what are we talking about? 500 million shillings can build a new thicker school for the blind.
Honestly, for me, as I walk around and I get opportunities to talk about it, I am always calling out on the government. Kindly, let us have more schools for persons with disability that are actually equipped. Don't just build us a structure.
Yep.
And then now you wait for Rotary or UN to come and give you
And
desks.
CDF.
And or to equip it with assisting devices. You've not helped anyone. I'm appealing to government, please. Let us have, let people with disability have more access to healthcare. What am I saying here? Most of the level 1, level 2, and level 3 hospitals and do not have specialized, the facilities are not even specialized for persons with disability to accommodate them in so many ways. They don't even have, most of them don't even have the rehabilitation centers to...
So,
Yes.
our building codes may have those particular clauses that ensure that you have them, but are they really implemented?
I'll go
That's
back
the
to
catch.
with
So-
your colleagues at the Rotary, and we thank you for coming today.
Yeah.